Welcome to Sports Saturdays presented by Rivalries Sports Network. I'm your host, Owen White. Today we have a special guest, Southfield A&T High School men's basketball coach, Darryle Buchanan.
How are you?
Doing fine.
I'm glad to be here.
Coach Buchanan has been instrumental in developing young people into productive men in society. He does this by pushing a program of excellence. He's here to talk about his plans as coach for the Southfield A&T Warriors men's basketball team. Coach Buchanan, welcome to Sports Saturdays.
Thank you again. Thank you for having me.
Where did you grow up?
I am a West Sider. I grew up on Virginia Park between 12th and 14th Street. So that's kind of like the near West Side in the area of Henry Ford Hospital, Motown. Those are the landmarks.
What are some of your favorite childhood memories that helped shape your view of the world?
Ooh. Well, I grew up in a very interesting time in our history. I grew up at a time during the Civil Rights Movement. So I had a chance to see a lot of the changes that were taking place in society. And I think one of the things that probably changed me was witnessing the riots that took place in Detroit. I actually lived at the epicenter of where the riots took place. So that's something that really made an imprint on my life in terms of how I view things and how I view change.
What made you interested in the coaching position at Southfield A&T?
Well, I've been coaching for quite a while, and the opportunity came after years and years of just witnessing, how, in Southfield we have so much talent, and we have some of the best facilities around, and to be given the opportunity to step up and be given the reins to, try and change the direction of the program was a challenge that I just couldn't walk away from.
What are some of the previous teams that you coached?
Well, I actually started coaching at St. Martin DePorres High School in Detroit. That's where I went to high school. And so I started coaching there at a very young age, in 1977. So I've been coaching for quite a while. And, since, I coached at DePorres, moved to Chicago and started up a couple of programs and coached in the middle schools where I was teaching then. And then when I relocated here, my sons were starting to play. And I saw the need to start a program so that the kids would learn more of the fundamentals. So I ran Southfield Transition for a number of years. And Southfield Transition enabled us to not only, train, tutor, and mentor these young men, but, the majority of my young men that went through that program have gone on and graduated from college. So being able to put education and athletics together has always been the strength that I've been able to attain as a coach. So that's a skill that over the years I started looking at. I won a lot of games, but I need to start being more focused on the young men. So I want to start winning lives, and that's what led me to this position. So in talking to the new superintendent and understanding that there was a need for a new coach, they felt that it was necessary to go in a new direction, and that's how I became the head coach at Southfield A&T.
All right. So have you ever coached any other sports?
Kind of, sort of. My sons played baseball. And, I started off playing baseball when I was young, and so I helped to coach baseball, but that was not really my forte. So basketball is the game that I know and love the most, and so I know to stay in my lane.
Right. You played for the legendary St. Martin DePorres coach
Rachel.
Rachel.
Yes, Coach Rachel.
Tell us about Coach Rachel.
Oh man, I don't even know where to begin with this guy. Coach Rachel was legendary, and he had a way. Now we're talking about the old days of coaching, right? So, coaches then were demanding, and they were also, and sometimes they could get, a little bit outside of, what's acceptable nowadays, with coaching. But what they do, is they ingrained in us the discipline that it takes, not just to be a good athlete, but to be a good man, okay? And so just, it took a while for me to see that, because when you're young, you don't necessarily see that. You just, this man is mean, he pushes, he's always on us, man, and just, you don't like him very much when you're playing for him. But then when you leave and you go away and you start to see the difference between yourself and other young men that you come across, say in college and just the differences in their character. And so, I started going back and reevaluating what Coach Rachel did for me. And interesting, we were working in the same factory at Chrysler. He was in security at Chrysler. And so one morning, I worked midnights, he worked mornings. So what happened was he asked me to come into, the security locker room. And he said, I want you to be on my coaching staff this year. And I was shocked. I was shocked because, I was never one of his star players. Okay, I barely played. What I was the guy that, he would come in and give me the scouting report on the next team we were getting ready to play. And I always had to, understand that play and then run it at practice against the first team. And so that was I didn't know it, but that's really what was preparing me to coach. Because what I would do is be able to understand the other team's offense, okay, and then run it against my teammates to prepare them, okay. So I was more of a, I guess what you would call a practice player, more than like the star on the team. But it really didn't matter. I was a part of something. It was something that was, I always felt like it was, being on a team like that was important to me, because I needed to feel like I belonged to something. But not just that I belonged to something, I belonged to something that was successful. And so those are the things that I learned from Coach Rachel, how to develop players, how to instill, discipline and hard work, because those are the things that carry you through life. And it's not just, well, I was a good basketball player. You can be a good basketball player and still not be a good man, okay, or be a good woman. You can be a star and, really be a failure in life. And so Coach Rachel was the kind of coach that instilled those values in you. And he was most proud of us when, he would see us later on in life. So when he asked me to be on the coaching staff, I was shocked. But I also saw it as an honor, because I was still a student at Wayne State then. So, I'm going to class and then coming to coach. So I'm not much older than the guys that I'm coaching, right? I'm like maybe 3 or 4 years older than them. But it enabled me to start, learning, what it means to be a coach. And it's more than, getting a whistle, rolling a ball out and say, okay, baby, do your thing. No, it's a whole lot more that goes into being a coach. And so learning those things from him enabled me to have success as a coach, through all these years.
All right. The year before you came on board, the team had a record of 218 overall and 111 in the division. In your first year as coach, the team improved to 14-8. With one returning varsity player, how do you plan to achieve even more wins?
Hard work, for sure. I was very fortunate. I've got a very good group of young players that are coming up right now. They were on the JV last year and they were very successful JV players. But it's interesting because now young men that had been in Southfield and left are coming back. So I'm starting to attract players to come and play at Southfield A&T now who had previously left and are now understanding that, hey, we're doing something a little different here. So, I think I want to be a part of it, okay? And they want to be a part of a winner. And I think they saw that just based on the turnaround from last year, which was, it was a big turnaround. To go there. Now, there are other factors that go into that. We weren't in the same division, okay? We got to move down a division. But in the previous 3 years, the team won 2 games, 3 games, 9 games. So that's 14 games. So in 3 years, they won 14 games. In 1 year, we were able to, win 14 games. So I think it's a testament to, developing a new culture, and one that is pushing for excellence from every one of the players. I don't try to coach the team and, coach it where it's going to be one guy that's going to be the focus of the team. I make sure that everybody on the team understands their roles, and then the way that you're going to be successful is that people start to understand the role that they play and step up. And I'm with the group that I have right now, they're younger than the team that I had last year, but at the same time, I get more time to instill and change the culture around there, and they seem to be picking it up. So I'm looking forward to a very upbeat, up-tempo style of basketball that we're going to play this year, and looking at the fact that kids are seeking us out now. That I think that's going to really start to make a difference for us.
All right. I looked at the schedule. You open up against the defending Division State 4 champion and crosstown rival Southfield Christian. You beat them last year. They want revenge. What's the plan?
Well, I can't tell you that right off the bat, but the plan is we're going to go out there and we're going to play our style, okay? And it takes a while for you to develop, a style of playing where the team understands their own character. Every team has a different style, okay? And that's the one thing that I, as a coach, have learned is that I can't force kids into playing my style if they don't have that talent. So what I do is I try to adapt, our strategy based on the kind of talent that I have. Now, if I had all, 6'8", Division I, 5-star players, I could just roll the ball out there and say, let's go. But, sadly, that's not the situation I'm in. We're a very guard-oriented program. And, just based on that, we have to play a very up-tempo style of basketball, okay? And so, that's going to be, something that's going to be with this program throughout the time that I'm coaching, is that we're going to play a very aggressive and up-tempo style of basketball. And we'll continue that this year.
Yeah. Last year, A&T suffered a 1-point loss to Birmingham Groves. How hungry are the Warriors to avenge that loss?
Very. Well, we did. Okay, we did. Now, we lost with a tip-in at the buzzer at home. Okay, but then we went to their house and beat them. Cameron McEvans hit a fabulous shot at the buzzer. And if you can go online probably and see that shot, it got played, over and over and over again. Cameron was just an amazing shooter, and there was several games that he stepped up and really, demonstrated that, he's one of the coldest shooters that probably Southfield's ever seen. So at Birmingham Groves, we were able to split with them last year. So they beat us in our house, and then we beat them in their house. So it's going to be interesting this year. And actually, we split with 2 teams in our division, Groves and Farmington. And so we'll see how it goes this year.
Southfield A&T plays Detroit Country Day. Does this game have the potential to become a rivalry game?
I hope so. What I want to establish is kind of like a territory so that we play all the teams in our area. So like Groves, we played Henry Ford, we played Bradford. So of the teams right in our area, we probably won that little competition last year. I love being able to add Country Day to that mix, and we'll just have to see how that goes. But interesting, Country Day is an old rival of mine, going back to my DePorres days. Okay, and we played them, and usually it was either in the district or regional that we would play each other. So there were years that we had the better squad and we had the runs on them, and then the years like when they had Chris Webber and some of those guys, well then they had the upper hand on us. So there's always been that rivalry internally for me with Country Day, so I'm looking forward to that as well.
Right. Academics are the focal point of your coaching strategy. What advice would you give student athletes to maintain great grades?
The one thing that I try to stress to all my young men is that you have to work as hard in the classroom as you do to wear my uniform, okay? It takes the same amount of effort to be on the team as it does, to do anything you do in your life. So if you choose to be an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, a plumber, a carpenter, you have to dedicate yourself to that the same way you do to playing basketball, because it's about effort. It's not about how smart you are. It's about how hard you're willing to work. And so I think that my style of coaching instills that in young men, to be able to take what they learn in the gym, on the court, and transfer that to the other aspects of their life. And if they do that, and I've seen this throughout my career, they'll be successful. One of the best things to me in my life is running into my former players, and when they introduce me to their wives, their children, they tell me about their careers and things like that, and they still call me coach. That is the blessing to me. Okay, that's the reason that I coach. I've won games. I've been on the floor at then it was at Chrysler Arena, playing the last game of the year and win. Okay, and there's nothing like that. But an even greater feeling is when you see these young men that you've had, or I've had contact with and mentored, tutored, coached over the years, and see the success that they've become. That's the thing that keeps me going as a coach.
All right. Your son Colin made it into the NFL. The work you and your wife put into his strife led to his success. What advice would you give parents of student athletes?
The same thing that I just kind of referred to you, is that there is no replacement of discipline, hard work, and effort in order for you to be successful. That is what enabled him to be the success that he became. Okay, and it's no different from any other young man that I was able to coach. Those things are fully transferable in your life. Okay, and so he learned that from me as a young person. I'm gonna give you for example. What I would do with them is I would tell both my sons, Evan and Colin, I said, okay, here's the deal. You come home from school, you get your homework done, and then you're free to do whatever you want to do. Now, I was a salesperson, so I was always, free to, get around. So some days I made it so that they could, get in the house by themselves, come in, get something to eat, sit at the dining room table or here, or at the kitchen table here at the dining room table, and get their homework done. And it was like, you get the work done, and then your time is yours. And there was a couple of times that I came in, and they're sitting there like they're so busy. But then I was like, and I go over there and I touch that TV, and that TV is a little bit warm. I said, who you think you're fooling, man? I know you guys are here watching TV. So I was like, okay, no practice today, no games tonight, whatever, okay? Because until you start to understand, that the work that it's going to take for you to be successful, and they knew if they didn't have the grades, they weren't going to do anything around here. So I'm just saying, it's a process you have to go through to, develop the character in your children, that they will take on their own. Okay, so you can push, and you can want whatever you want them to do, but if they don't have it internally, then it's never going to work. You know, one of the things I tell my players all the time is, I can't want this more than you do. So I think that's the key to it right there.
Right. You've been watching Sports Saturdays presented by Learning Sports Network. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe.